This article comes from Den of Geek UK. When E.T., the extraterrestrial emerged in 1982, its childlike alien melted hearts everywhere. At the Cannes Film Festival, where Steven Spielberg's film was screened out of competition, E.T. got a standing ovation, its audience clapping for a full 15 minutes as the final credits rolled. At a royal gala screening, Princess Diana reportedly cried so much that she had to be whisked away to have her makeup fixed by her aides. As E.T. smashed attendance records, eventually topping Star Wars as the highest-grossing film up to that point, the sci-fi drama's classic status seemed assured. The performances from the child cast, including Henry Thomas as the lead, Elliot, and Drew Barrymore as his sister Gertie, were note perfect. The title Alien, created by Carlo Rambaldi, was a masterpiece of practical effects. John Williams' score seemed lighter than air. Spielberg's direction was full of warmth yet also laced with melancholy. Not everyone was entirely enamored with E.T., however, especially in Scandinavia, where the film was treated with surprising harshness by local ratings boards. In January 1983, reports began to emerge that the Swedish Board of Film Censorship had made the decision to ban children under the age of 11 from seeing E.T. The reason, it said, was because the film portrays adults as enemies of children. In the US, by contrast, the film was rated PG for language and thematic elements, which meant that parents could take kids of any age to see it. In the UK, the British Board of Film Classification gave E.T. a U, or universal, rating, while noting that the movie contains a bit of bad language. The certificate effectively meant that the board thought the film suitable for audiences aged 4 or older. Sweden's film board begged to differ. According to an Associated Press report published at the time, the country's chief censor, Gunnar Back, believed that children under the age of 11 would be disturbed by E.T.'s threatening and frightening atmosphere. Back didn't, unfortunately, elaborate on the widely reported suggestion that E.T. had received a more restrictive certificate because of its portrayal of adults. That quote even reached Starlag magazine in the US. Nevertheless, the story that the Swedish board had restricted E.T. because of its scary adults, at one point, we see the children and their alien friend pursued by government agents, persisted in the American press. In a 1988 Chicago Tribune article, the writer jokingly states that, the stupidity of the grown-ups in E.T. proved too embarrassing for the Swedish Film Board. Whatever the reasons behind the ruling were, the decision provoked more than a little controversy from Swedish critics and cinemagoers alike. 7-year-old kids in the 1940s and 650s were not as accustomed to strange and nasty things, lacking television and a single-station radio, argued a Swedish newspaper, Svenska Dagbladet, before suggesting that the rating had been put in place by wildly out-of-touch middle-aged censors. Children appeared to agree, with demonstrations reportedly taking place outside cinemas as it opened in Stockholm on the 10th December. Placards were brandished, their messages including, "Away with the 11-year limit, children's films are made for children and let us see E.T." Sweden wasn't the only Scandinavian country to restrict E.T., either. Norway's certification effectively banned film for children under 12. While Finland restricted the film to audiences aged 8 and above. Not that the ratings made much difference to the film's success, which was hitting Europe like a tidal wave as it opened around 1982's festive season. Swedish newspapers reported many children under 11, some with their parents, were seeing the movie by pretending they were of age. Read an Associated Press article at the time. By January 1983. The movie had already made $2.1 million in Sweden alone. Nevertheless, the media interest surrounding Sweden's rating was such that Gunnar Back even wound up on American television to defend the ruling. When Back retired from her position in 2007, she talked about her years of rating, and occasionally censoring, movies, including the board's decision to edit certain scenes of violence out of Martin Scorsese's gangster film, Casino. When asked about E.T., however, Urbach didn't cite the film's screeness or even its depiction of adults as a reason for preventing under-11s from seeing it. Rather, she said it was because of its subtitles. One thing that you have to remember is that 7-year-olds in Sweden can't read good enough to read the subtitles, Urbach said. We never dub films in Sweden, apart from those for very young children. So the movie still was in English, and much of the dialogue would be lost to 7-year-olds and younger, of course. I think that was one of the factors, which of course the English-speaking world wouldn't.